Hello everyone and welcome to my new series of videos in which I will introduce you to Plugin Script, the plugin by Bluecat Audio. First of all, my goal is to make this new video series a little bit different than the videos I already made. If you saw some of them, you might have noticed they can get pretty long and a little bit exhausting. So I wanna focus more on easy and structured examples. Also, the structure of the videos themselves should be more structured. I want the topics to build up on each other so that you watch them in sequence and always think that there is nothing that surprises you too much. And also it will be a playlist for PNS only, plugin script only videos. Up until now I always had the plugin script stuff mixed with the juice stuff a little bit, and it became a bit chaotic in my opinion. Also, I want the videos to become much shorter, and my goal for this video is to introduce you to Plugin Script very briefly. First of all, my inspiration therefore for doing that was Ilya Orlov, because he made this page recently in which you also can learn Plugin Script, and his approach to teaching Plugin Script is this kind of blog style approach where you can just go and read some stuff about not just how to program in general, but also why would you use Plugin Script and stuff like that. Why would you not use Juice? So there are comparisons, and I will do such comparisons too, but maybe they will be a little bit different in my case because I'm a different person. Now if you scroll down and click on Site by Latimix, which is his artist name I think, then it brings you to the YouTube channel, so you can also watch his videos on YouTube. And I think some of them are also not just about Plugin Script, as we can see, but some are. Let's see if he already has playlists for. Yes, very nice. So this is a nice channel, and my channel is also nice, I hope. And okay, let's just start now. So first of all, I would like to get started in a similar way as Ilya does on his page, by just saying the first steps what to do with Plugin Script. Well, first of all, you install the plugin obviously, and I won't go over that because I guess most people who ask themselves if they should use this plugin are already music producers and therefore know how to install plugins. So you just do that, and then it will appear. This is an audio track in my DAW, and you see it's here. Also, Plugin Script has also a synthesizer version, and then it's basically the same plugin but as a synthesizer. But in this case, I will just use it as an effect. And you open the plugin, and then you have this option to open the panel that lets you have more advanced options, and they are very important. Well, some of them are not that important, like the GUI stuff, even though Ilya would not be on my side about that, because he likes the GUI stuff in Plugin Script a lot. There's also a whole language dedicated to it, but if you're interested in that, you should definitely check out his stuff. So the basic stuff, the most important stuff is up here, where you can open your DSP script, and the script that is currently selected will be opened when you hit the edit button. Usually it will be opened in the normal text editor, so you set your favorite editor here, just so you're very comfortable and stuff. So now the first thing that I would do before I would start with anything is make a nice default script. Because when you open the plugin the first time, this is not what you will see. You will just see these 2 lines. So I added the other lines because I always use them, or almost always. So what do we have here? We have the name of the plugin, a little description of the plugin. That's not very important, but you can have it there. And this is stuff about the parameters. For example, you could make a gain knob, then you just have to call this gain. And you can set a range. Maybe gain goes from 0 to 2 or from 0 to 1. For everything that goes from 0 to 1, which is called a normalized value, you can also just don't put anything into the brackets, and then it will automatically be the default behavior. So this line is totally enough to make a parameter, but the other lines are useful as well. And if you ask yourself how to come up with that stuff, because that's always a valid question, then the answer is also pretty simple. Let's go back to the plugin. You just go to a preset menu and select any preset that you are interested in. Especially the utility ones are very small usually. This is a script that only makes stuff mono by deleting the site content. Yeah, and then you just go into these files and see what they are doing. In this case, there is only one parameter, which is a button, and I don't actually see where the parameter is set right now. It's a little bit weird. Maybe it's in the QML file then. Maybe this is a bad example, because you want to know where to get those parameter information. Let's go to something that has more knobs, like the low pass filter. And you see, it has some of these lines. And you see input parameter stuff always has input parameters in the name. So what you can also do to find more information about what you can do and what you can't is, let's go back to the default script. You can hit on the question mark, which is the manual, and then hit ctrl+F and maybe type in something like input parameters. And then you find useful information, like for example, what does the update input parameters function do? And what are input parameters and what input parameter arrays do exist and can be used. Or this example explains how to use the input parameter from the array of input parameters, how to get the value from that, basically, and stuff like that. I think the manual is pretty straightforward for a programming manual. It is certainly meant to be read by musicians, even though if you haven't done a lot of programming, it will be a little bit confusing, but it's still much less confusing than any other programming context. Where was I? So now let's pretend like you have made a default script that has this stuff. What's this? This is the process block. This is where everything happens. There is also an alternative for that, but I never use it because processing something as block is very desirable in most cases. So you can just skip learning the other thing. And this is a method where you can update your input parameters, but you can also do it directly in process block. And the difference is already explained on Ilya's page. And this is a function that I got from the library of plugin script, which just gives you a round number. So if you give this a function, this is a function call. I will talk about how the language works in another video, but just to show that pretty quickly, you can make a variable some number and say rint maybe, and now what this would yield is that number is 8, because this can be rounded to 8, and in case that this is bigger than 0.5, it will round to 9. This is an important function, because if you would just do this, then it would always round down. So this would also be 8. And in some cases you would want that, in other cases you won't. Okay. So now this is my default script. This is something that I almost always use. So it's just part of my default script. And it's nice to have a default script, because then you already have a starting point of stuff that you don't have to rewrite all the time. Oh, I actually shouldn't call this game, because I don't always make this a game now. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's see if I have forgotten anything. Yeah, this is a mistake. This must mean steps. I make this mistake all the time. Okay, whatever. So the first thing, that was the first thing you should do. The second thing is check out the presets. Say you want to know how to, let's choose something very simple, how to invert the phase of the whole signal or flip the polarity. You can see this. Let's zoom in on the waveform, and we have this activated, as you can see. Now let's render this to a new file and zoom in. Okay, I think I've had a little bit of gain change here, but pretend like this has the same gain, or maybe I just turn it up again so it's the same. Now let's look at it, and we see it has the inverted wave. This goes up, this goes down. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. So so how does that work? Then you go into the file, and you shouldn't change these files, by the way, or you have to reinstall the plugin to get it back. You will make your own files when you want to make projects, just by the way. But you can also just copy the files from BlueCat and then edit them, no problem. So this has just one parameter. It has on and off. It has 2 steps, and that's why it's a button. And it has the step 0 and the step 1. It has a description and a name. It has some value that starts at 1. I guess this is the parameter. And yeah, you see in the update input parameters function that gets called whenever an input parameter changes, there is a cryptic function that that kinda does something weird. And if you look at what this function actually does, then you will realize that this actually enables a functionality that will make norm always be either 1 or -1, depending on input parameters 0, which is the array that holds the current state, which is either 0 or 1, right? So this is a loop that goes through all samples from the current, no wait, oh right, this is process sample. Okay, as I told earlier, this is the alternative function that I never use. Okay, then actually this is just the channels. There are 2 channels probably on a stereo track, like 0 and 1, and this will loop through the channels. And then it says the sample is itself times the parameter. So if it's times 1, then nothing changes, and if it's times -1, then it will be flipped, since something times -1 is like the inverted thing. So this makes a lot of sense if you think about it, even as a beginner. And yeah, okay, this is a nice example. So you learn some basics, and there are a lot of basics that you can learn, and some of them might seem pretty fancy, like sidechain, how does sidechaining work. But all in all, it's really simple, and it's a very short file with less than 50 lines, with some of them just being the parameter lines, so, or some comments. So really easy. You will totally learn that. Okay, now how do you structure your own files? That's also a valid question. And I had no structure when I started, and I just made a folder and some other folders, and I tried to make sense of that, and I was a bit confused, and everything became a little bit messy at the beginning. I think that's okay for a starter. But now I found a solution for that, and I want to present that to you. By the way, Ilya also has an article about that on his page, so check it out if you want to see his solution. And here's mine. So if you click on this, you always have the option to go into some subfolders and open a script, and then it will show up. Oh, this doesn't work. Okay. However, it also doesn't work. Okay, this is just my test folder, whatever. I guess my other folder, everything works fine. What I want to say is, it's cool that you can just choose a script from this drop-down menu. You can also load a script. Then you have the option to just go anywhere and load the script from there. But in order for your scripts to show up here, they have to be in a specific folder. And I want to show you which folder that is. It's onto add documents, and then BlueCat Audio, and plugin script, and scripts. And now this is the place where everything happens. Yeah. Okay, so now about my structure. First I had some very weird things going on, and I see that I still have some of that, like the analyze helper folder that just has one script, because I never made another analyze helper for this folder. And I also have some folders for stuff that I didn't make myself, but other people. I think that's cool. It's nice to have folders of other people, so you never forget that you actually someone else contributed to your knowledge. But the actual folders that I use mostly now are test and alttext and HDL PNS Fundgrube. Well, test is the easiest of them. Test is just a folder where I put everything. Whenever I want to try something, I put it into test, and that's why this is the biggest folder. And I always use the structure where I put the year and then the month and then the day, because then everything is chronologically sorted by sorting it alphabetically, and that's cool. When a project is supposed to have multiple files, I create a subfolder for that. You can always only see the main files here, but if I actually went there and we see that in the actual folder, then you see that they always have some other files as well that also play a role. Oh, not always. Okay. Okay. So this is my main folder for projects that are finished, and it's part of my repository where you can just copy stuff from. But if you are part of my Facebook group, then you already know that, so I won't go into detail here. But if you want something to look at, then go to my repository and look at it. And I think I will put all these links into the description of the video. And the test folder is for tests, yes. And then the alttext folder is for whenever I made something, for whenever I programmed something that had a different outcome than I expected, but something glitchy and cool. And let's see what this does, for example. Okay, I forgot why this fascinated me so much. However, it can make sense to have a folder like that for outtakes, because really sometimes you find something and you can't really tell how yet why you like it or why it happened, but you know that you like it and you just put it there for some other time that you want to deal with it, and then you go on with whatever you actually tried to do. So yeah, that's a nice structure. So how do you make a new project? You just click on this thing and say save script as, well, it's the default script. Then you go to your test folder and make a new folder for the current project. And then you give it a name, and I traditionally give the main script the name main, so I have everything very nicely laid out. And now this is not the default script anymore, but the main script, but it has the content from the default script. And that's nice, because now you have a default behavior. So now let's just do something in here, something very simple. We take the sample, the current sample of the buffer, which works like this, and you say we wrap that around a wave shaper that just works like this. And I will explain in another video why this makes sense. Now let's try that. You can reload the script here. Okay, this is definitely too hard. Let's try something like this instead. Okay, now it's very subtle and more like a saturation plugin. Of course, it's not linked to the parameter yet, but this example was supposed to be really simple. And yeah, I think that's it. That's how you make a new project, basically. That's how you get started with plugin script. And this is basically enough information to just learn everything. But I will still continue to make even more videos in which I go into detail about how the language works, how DSP stuff works, and for example what this does and why this does what it does, and stuff like that.